The Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne. A throng of bearded men, in sad-colored garments and gray steeple-crowned hats, intermixed with women, some wearing hoods and others bareheaded, was assembled in front of a wooden edifice, the door of which was heavily timbered with oak and studded with iron spikes. The founders of a new colony, whatever utopia of human virtue and happiness they might originally project, have invariably recognized it among their earliest practical necessities to allot a portion of the virgin soil as a cemetery, and another portion as the site of a prison. Before this ugly edifice was a grass plot, much overgrown with unsightly vegetation. But on one side of the portal was a wild rosebush, covered in this month of June with its delicate gems. The grass plot before the jail, in Prison Lane on a certain summer morning not less than 2 centuries ago, was also occupied by a pretty large number of the inhabitants of Boston, all with their eyes intently fastened on the iron-clamped oaken door. There was a solemnity of demeanor on the part of the spectators, as befitted a people amongst whom religion and law were almost identical. It was a circumstance to be noted on the summer morning when our story begins its course, that the women, of whom there were several in the crowd, appeared to take a peculiar interest in whatever penal infliction might be expected to ensue.
"Good wives,"
said a hard-featured dame of 50,
"I'll tell you a piece of my mind. We women should have the handling of such malefactresses as this Hester Prynne. If the hussy stood up for judgment before us 5, would she have come off with such a sentence as the worshipful magistrates have awarded? The magistrates are God-fearing gentlemen, but merciful overmuch. That is a truth,"
added another matron.
"At the very least, they should have put the brand of a hot iron on Hester Prynne's forehead. Madam Hester would have winced at that, I warrant. But little will she care what they put on the bodice of her gown."
"Hush now,"
exclaimed a man in the crowd,
"for the lock is turning in the prison door, and here comes Mistress Prynne herself."
The door of the jail being flung open from within, there appeared in the first place, like a black shadow emerging into the sunshine, the grim and grisly presence of the town beadle. Stretching forth the official staff in his left hand, he laid his right upon the shoulder of a young woman, whom he drew forward, until, on the threshold of the prison door, she repelled him by an action marked with natural dignity and force of character, and stepped into the open air, as if by her own free will. She bore in her arms a child, a baby of some 3 months old, who winked and turned aside its little face from the too vivid light of the day, because its existence heretofore had brought it acquainted only with the gray twilight of a dungeon. When the young woman, the mother of this child, stood fully revealed before the crowd, it seemed to be her first impulse to clasp the infant closely to her bosom. In a moment, however, widely judging that one token of her shame would but poorly serve to hide another, she took the baby on her arm, and, with a glance that would not be abashed, looked around at her townspeople and neighbors. On the breast of her gown, in fine red cloth, surrounded with an elaborate embroidery and fantastic flourishes of gold thread, appeared the letter A. The young woman was tall, with a figure of perfect elegance. She had dark and abundant hair, and a face which, besides being beautiful from regularity of feature, had the impressiveness belonging to marked brow and deep black eyes. But the point which drew all eyes and, as it were, transfigured the wearer was that scarlet letter. It had the effect of a spell. The grim beadle now made a gesture with his staff.
"Make way, good people! Make way!"
Sample complete. Ready to continue?